Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I am your host, Patrice Tsague. I'm here today with Wendie, Klem, and Debra, Schlaht. Ladies, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Patrice.
All right, so I have you back. You were with us last week because you have a women biblical entrepreneurship class coming up. So I wanted to have you back on that. So we've been talking a lot about identity and destiny and the impact that that's having on women and the importance of having a purpose mosaic, which, by the way, can anybody, I know you started the Identity and Destiny class last week. Is that still, can people still sign up for that, or is the registration closed?
Well, I think we can probably take this week, but we want to make sure that we don't miss too much. So if anybody's interested, we want to get them in by the end of this week, Patrice, so that we can get them started. Or if they want to, we can get them on the next class that we have. I know Wendie has one that's scheduled that is with men and women, but we can also have get them ready for the next Women in Business, whatever they prefer.
Well, let me ask you this. Is this Women in Business Identity and Destiny format is going to be continuing? In other words, if I miss this one, is this something, not me personally, but a woman, is that something that they can catch down in the future?
Yeah, Wendie, I don't remember exact dates that we've got planned, but I'm sure you do.
I do not have the next dates for the next one. We will have another Women in Business Identity and Destiny starting in September.
Okay.
So, and the reason for that is we have Nehemiah Week coming up, Patrice, in August. And so we do not want to take away from the benefit they're going to get by attending that conference. We really feel that that is going to be an important part of their journey to learn and grow. So we will not start until after that,
awesome.
That time.
Awesome. So if you're interested in being a part of the Women Business Identity and Destiny that just began, just reach out to us. Go to our website. Is it still on the website, or did they just reach out to you? Okay. Go to the website at nehemiahecommunity.com, and there you can go to search a class and you can sign up for it. You have this week to sign up for it. And if not, then there'll be another one in September. If you want something sooner, you can go to the website, and there'll be other classes, not necessarily Women in Business, that are coming up as well. All right, so ladies, Ruth says hello. Ruth just joined us. Ruth just joined us from Kenya. So we're gonna talk about biblical entrepreneurship for women. Now, I'm gonna ask the obvious question. So, what's the difference between biblical entrepreneurship for women? And before I even ask that, just so that if our audience is listening for the first time on this broadcast and hearing you for the first time, let's make sure that we know who they're talking to. Let's start with you, Debra. Debra, a bit about yourself and what you do with Nehemiah Project.
Well, thank you, Patrice. Debra Schlaht. I'm the Director of Training and Coaching for Nehemiah Project. Also one of the founding partners for Kingdom Business Coaching. So I work with our partners and trainers, our regional directors and center directors all around the world, helping with their programs and ensuring that they have all the tools they need to successfully lead classes and programs.
And Debra, as you look at this year, what's been your most gratifying, and this is a on-the-spot question for you, what's been the most gratifying thing for you this year in your role? What's the thing that you've done this year that when you look back, we're about to do our staff retreat next week. When you look back at these, this is the accomplishment, one or two that I'm most proud of for this year.
Well, of course, right now I'm going to say it's about the Women in Business program. This is a dream, Patrice, that I've had for, 10 years, that we would serve the women entrepreneurs and business leaders around the world with within our programs and offerings. And in partnering with Wendie, as we've been talking about it for the last year maybe, about how this would look. I really feel that Nehemiah finally is poised with our e-community centers, our programs, our opportunity to reach out in a global basis, bringing women together. our life group and our identity and destiny program just took off in a ways that I was really surprised about. We have women from around the world, not only in the US, but from Mexico, Madagascar, Africa, who are joining in these programs and being a part of, and it tells me that we're serving a need within the market. And I'm absolutely excited and thrilled with how the response that we've received from it. And this upcoming BE class is just an extension of that as well. And working with Wendie, where we see things in the same light, and in expanding her e-community center is just the kind of collaboration that I know that women can do together, and that we can help each other to be successful and overcome some of the challenges that we have, specific challenges that we face.
Awesome. As my mother was very influential in my life, as you all know, she's I've learned everything about business from her and then Jesus. My sisters have been my older sister particularly, very influential in my life. My grandmother, I'm the product of my grandmother. My wife has been very instrumental. I got 2 girls, so I understand the power of women, and I've definitely have benefited from having women around me. And just a little secret, don't tell anybody, our women staff some of the hardest working women that I know. They say, once you get something done, get a woman, because she'll get it done. So awesome for that. So Wendie, when you look at this year, what's been your most exciting accomplishment?
Wow, there really are so many. I think 2 things. One, I would agree, the women in business piece, but it's about the women themselves and watching them flourish. God, I'm just a tool here that He is using to reach them. And so for me, the fact that He has chosen me in this season to serve Him and His women, for me, is a huge piece. And the other thing, Patrice, is watching the growth in the community, the biblical entrepreneurship community, and watching them really link arms. We started kind of with the women here in this particular movement, but it has expanded so much further than that. My region, as regional director for North America, I'm watching the US grow in a way that, but God, literally, but God in the midst of COVID-19. And to me, I don't really have any accomplishments. I just feel that I get to be that tool. But watching those entrepreneurs, really kind of watching that light bulb go off and say, wow, I can do this. God's got this, and I can rely on Him, and I can get through this.
Wow. Well, thank you, ladies. I want to just commend both of you guys. You guys have just been model staff members, team members, in just demonstrating the importance of perseverance, persistence, and service in the midst of this COVID-19. Just so you know, Frank is watching. Andre, welcome as well. So let's talk about, so the obvious question is, what's the difference between the biblical entrepreneurship for women and just the regular biblical entrepreneurship class?
Well, Patrice, the content is not different, okay? They didn't write a Bible for women and one for men. God didn't do that. It's all one, right? He gave us all instructions, but He didn't create us exactly alike. He created us as a purpose, right? Just like everything on the earth has a purpose. There's unique qualities for them in order to walk that out. Well, women are no different than that, Patrice. And one of the reasons we felt to bring them together in this class was so that we would be able to address some of those challenges with a biblical mindset, not the secular mindset, not the hot mess that's going on in the world, but really to look at what is God telling us as His daughters, as mothers and sisters, and just all of that, what is God telling us to do? And how are we going to serve the marketplace? You know, women entrepreneurs, there's like 46% of the entrepreneurs are women. And so we do face certain challenges, you know, because innately we are the caregivers, you know, we are thought to be the one, you know, the children are homesick. Our natural instinct is to want to be there to take care of them. But as an entrepreneur, we have those challenges that need to be faced. I'm going to use a word that I know Debra really doesn't like, is the word boundaries. And having to figure that out. So because we are wives, right, and mothers, and so to be able to find that balance, and that balance is the word, not boundaries, it's balance. The balance in that, there's just unique conversations, and we wanted to provide a space where women are comfortable to have that conversation. And again, Patrice, our job is just to keep turning them back to the Lord, because he's got the answers we don't.
Yeah, amen. Ruth says it's about women flourishing. That's beautiful, she says. Debra, what do you want to add to that? What's the difference?
Well, I think that Wendie sort of alluded to this. You know, we talk, I know many women talk about balance. You know, I've got my family obligations, I have my children, I have my church, my community. To me, it's about alignment. And so that's the word, that how do I align all of these things that are important to me, that are within my area of a responsibility that I have, in a way that honors God and honors me and how I was designed and built, in order to ensure that they all have this opportunity to receive the best of me as a woman. And oftentimes women really struggle with this, especially when it comes to their family, children, their husband, and their business. How do I make sure that everybody has that best part of me, their expectations and my responsibilities are met, but also that I, as an individual, that I honor who I am and how God built me. And oftentimes the individual is the last person we serve. It's interesting. I had a conversation today with a woman just a few minutes before this podcast. And it was, about how does she serve herself as well? What would it look like that she could achieve some of the things that she wanted to, that were important to her, because she was the last person who came in mind. And we talked about how important God's commandment to us about loving him, but also loving ourselves as we do our neighbors. How do we do that? And many times we don't love ourselves enough as women, because we feel guilty, we feel shame, we haven't completed what we were asked to do, we're not meeting everybody's needs. It's a complex problem, Patrice. It isn't solved easily, but this is a start in how we can help women to address those issues and be able to create a business that does meet a need in the marketplace, but also cares for their families.
I love the point you're making, which is the fact that, so biblical entrepreneurship, of course, is business based on the Bible, but then you tie the women dynamic to that. Mm-hmm. You know, how they view themselves, how society views them, how God has wired them. That brings some interesting kind of different discussions, right? Yes. And you're able then, in the context of other women, try to have the discussion openly and honestly, and then know that you're not unique, you're not strange, you're not weird, that other women in business may be having these same things. I know, as I've been talking with my wife, as she's been going through identity and destiny, and as she's been fleshing out, trying to determine and clarify what is her identity, what is her destiny, there are some things that has been very unique to her because she's a wife and she's a mother, and being a woman. And so she's had to process, how do I find an identity outside of being a wife, right? How do I process my identity outside of being a mother? How do I not run away from what it means to be a woman, as though somehow that makes me more independent. But how do I not let that be the only thing that defines me, right?
Right.
So there's kind of that dynamic that I think it's healthy and great for women to have the discussions about themselves. So let's talk a bit about women in business in general. When you think of a women entrepreneur that you both admire, and why? Let's kind of talk about it. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. So let's start with you, Wendie. What's the one entrepreneur? Just, you know what? As I'm training these women, this woman is someone, whether known or unknown, somebody that has a value that I like for my women to kind of aspire towards. Give me a name and why. It doesn't have to be somebody we all know.
Well, probably one of the ones that I really admire the most in this context would be Mary Kay Ash. She started a company because she was passed over for a job by a man. Now, she could have done two things. She could have whined about it, and poor me, but she didn't. She sought for a solution. She looked for a solution for the problem. And what she did in that process is created not just an opportunity for herself, but for other women. Like Mary Kay products don't, like the company don't, the fact that she took what could have been a catastrophic defining moment for her and turned it into a very powerful opportunity. And I love the fact that she also got her children involved. She left that legacy. And so I love that part of her story as well, that her children became involved and she just didn't give up. And so often women will do that when they feel like I can't do this. And I see too many women think that they have to do it within their own power and allow those things just to bear down too heavily on them. And I was one of those women. I mean, I was an entrepreneur for 35 years. I struggled with that. I had a large company when my kids were, into elementary school and middle school age. It was a challenge, with my husband in a full-time career and trying to kind of figure that out. So I love that about Mary Kay. She just didn't give up.
I love it. So Mary Kay Ash, she took something that could have been knocked her out and turned around and create opportunity, engaged her children and persevered, right?
And she created an industry almost.
Yes, for sure. And empowered many women and men that have gone on and done very, very well for themselves. Debra, what about you?
Well, I'm going to take a more personal note and kind of go closer to my own home. I love that story about Mary Kay Ash. I mean, I think she's just phenomenal. But for me, I'm going to look at a close personal friend and a friend of our ministry as well, Wendie Jones, who leads her own company here in the Northwest. She's been on our board of directors. She's been a leader in the Christian Chamber of Commerce of the Northwest. In fact, she's the one who brought me to Nehemiah Project and Biblical Entrepreneurship. She sponsored my class, the very first one, Patrice, that you had here in Portland. But she also leads her business, and she is a leader in KCIA as well. And what I love about her, what's inspiring to me, is that she is a strong businesswoman. She knows where she wants to lead her business, facing some difficulties right now, but working through those. But she's always seeking God in the heart of it. And although her husband supports her and allows her that lead, that she always is conscious of their relationship and where her responsibility to him as the leader of their marriage. She is first and foremost a woman of God in how she leads herself and her staff, how she leads others, is just such an inspiration to me. And, despite obstacles and difficulties that might come on the way, her reliance and trust that God has a better plan is what I would hope as well. Leads her family, has brought her family in from time to work in her business. And so making difficult decisions going forward, just a woman of strength. I admire her greatly.
I love it. And I do know Wendie Jones, and I call her Margaret Thatcher. She's tough. And
Yes.
and I love that. What I appreciate about the point you make about her, she understands the importance of being submitted to her husband in the household, while at the
Yes.
same time not rejecting the leadership gifting that God has given her in walking out and leading her business. And she has an amazing story of transformation, powerful story. So those are two women. So I guess when these women take your classes, they can expect to learn kind of what Mary Kay Ash used or did to get to where she is, and to learn some of what Wendie did or used to get to where they are. Let's talk now about women in the Bible. This is now a tougher test, and let's see how well you guys do. So you guys did so well on the identity and destiny one as I went through the different pieces. So women in the Bible. So now we're going to talk about a woman in the Bible that you believe exemplify characteristics that you would like for these women to really embody as they come through your class. And again, I'm going to start with you again, Wendie. So give me a woman in the Bible and why you select her, and what about her characteristics that you'd want for the women in your class to embrace.
I would probably have to go with Lydia.
Okay.
And
for those who are not sure, tell them who Lydia is.
Huh?
For those who don't know, tell our audience who Lydia is.
Patrice, I don't know. Put me on the spot here. What I love about Lydia is the story where she with the purple cloth, she created the product. She took action. Mm-hmm. She didn't wait around for that, and that's why I would choose her for my inspiration.
And so you would want the women in your class to embody her in terms of taking action, in terms of being kind of proactive?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for our audience, so Lydia, her name in scripture was called Lydia of Thyatira, right? Lydia of Thyatira. She's a woman mentioned in the New Testament who is regarded as the first documented convert to Christianity in Europe. And she was known for her purple dye, right? She had a purple dye business. She was an entrepreneur, and as a matter of fact, she, back in those days, purple dye was a very a commodity that did really well. It says she was most likely a Greek Macedonian. So this was a Greek who converted to Christianity. So she was a Gentile woman. And then it says that Paul and Silas, Paul, Silas, and Timothy were traveling through the region of Philippi when they encountered a reputable businesswoman who was possibly a widow, was a righteous Gentile or God-fearer, and was attracted to Judaism. And then she's known for having used her business as a way to fund the ministry. It also says here that she was most known as a seller or merchant of purple cloth, which is likely the reason why in the Catholic Church, naming her patroness of dyes. And so she has a trade name. So she was a trade woman. She was a businesswoman. She was a very early Mary Kay Ash, right? So if you take the class that Wendie and Debra is going to have, you will learn some characteristics and some attributes that made Lydia great and that you can inspire as well. So Debra, who would you go with and why?
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is probably a surprise, but I'm going to go with Naomi. Um,
Mm-hmm.
out of the book of Ruth. You know, Naomi was this woman who had lost everything, lost her husband, lost her sons, and was really kind of destitute. But how she took Ruth under her wing. She was a woman who recognized the power and had wisdom that she guided her daughter-in-law in her interactions. I think that as women in business, that we have to be perceptive, we have to be wise, we have to recognize the seasons that we're in, and how do we navigate within those. And I just admire her ability to successfully and confidently guide Ruth in how she was to go to the field and to Boaz's field, to glean, to follow what Boaz did, and how to maintain her virtue and her honor as she continued to seek out. And I think those are all qualities that women want to aspire to in business, that we are seen as women of virtue and of honor in how we do business, that we don't succumb to the world's way of doing things, but that we can use God's blueprint in order to be a success. And as a result, I mean, look at this as here's who our Savior came from, who Jesus Christ came out as a result of this. Great things can happen.
That's right. You know, when we often think of the relationship between the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law, historically, it's not always the best relationship, right? You know, there are exceptions, you know, but historically, even when they are great, they sometimes start out a little bit tenuous, right? Because the mother-in-law feel like, you're taking my baby from me, right? And the daughter feel like, no, he's mine now, right? So there's that kind of these two women fighting over. But what's interesting about Naomi is that Ruth must have had a great respect for her,
Yes.
right? You know, Ruth, she had endeared Ruth. And so for Ruth to be willing to risk everything she knew to say, your people now be my people, your land will now be my land, wherever you go, I will go. A very famous line in scripture.
Right.
That says something unique. I mean, think about it. Your husband dies, right? And your mother-in-law is going to go back to their country, their village, their city, wherever. And then you have never been there before. For you to say, where you go, I will go, means significant amount of trust and faith, right? That's leadership, right? That's endearment, that says everything. So if a woman can develop that attribute whereby they're able to be endeared by the employees and their investors and their vendors, in such they'll say, you know what, Debra, we trust you. Whatever we say, that's what we're going to do. We know there are risks involved. We know that it's an uncertain future, but we believe you. You've been faithful to us. We have seen we've tested you. You're proven. And then she validates that by the way she cares for Ruth while in Israel, right? Looking out for her all the way to marriage. I mean, that is powerful, great example to use. Now, let me go to another piece. I'm taking your class and I'm learning. I've learned about some contemporary women that exemplify the things you want me to learn. I've learned about some women in the Bible and attribute. And you guys mentioned some of this before, but let's conclude with some of the challenges let's not conclude, I'm gonna have another one, but let's talk about the challenges that women tend to face and how this class may address. Let me give an example. So when I think about women in business, one thing comes to mind, at least in America, there's a big debate about the fact that women tend to earn on average less than men, right? You know, for the same position. And that's a big issue. So there's a big crusade around equal pay for equal work, talking about women and treating them equally. What I love about business is that women do not have to worry about being paid less. Because customers don't say, well, Debra, because you're a woman, I'm going to buy that shoe from you less than that man. Wendie, because you're a woman, I'm going to pay less in your restaurant than that man, right? That's the beauty. It's like an equal playing field. And the opportunity for the women through entrepreneurship and business to be able to build their own equal playing field versus relying on government or on men to endow that upon them as though it was their right to give, right? They can honor themselves. So that's one attribute I think that your class can really help empowerment to say, hey, ladies, this is, you can control your own destiny, right? You and the Lord, as you learn these things, whatever disadvantage you felt as a woman, whatever circumstance has been as a woman, whatever society has tried to keep you from because of your gender, through business, you can break that stereotype, right? So let me ask you, let me start with you, Debra. So I'm in your class. What's a typical, let's say, obstacle or challenge or stereotype or prejudice that women may face or go through that this class might be to help them overcome?
I'm thinking, as you're talking, Patrice, oftentimes women are considered, I think the word is aggressive versus assertive. And so if we come across with confidence or determination or courage, if we sort of stand our ground kind of thing, try to be strong, that is misinterpreted as being an aggressive nature, as opposed to being confident, assertive, and certain about where we're going or what we're offering, what our product is or our service. And so, I think that the perception is that women need to be nice, we need to be gentle, we need to be kind, and we need to be all those things. I think all people need to be those things, and there is a place for them. So how do we take that and have strength in what we're doing, where the direction that we're going in, and how that is interpreted in the marketplace. We see it in politics, we see it in the church, we see it in business, and we see it in families as well. So I think that's one of the biggest obstacles for women to overcome, is that the difference between that. Men can be assertive and women are aggressive. How do we overcome those terms?
I love it. What I'm hearing you say is, how do I be assertive and confident and without being perceived or without falling to that other extreme or trap where I'm being perceived as too aggressive, not woman enough, or whatever it is. And I think you're probably going to say in some cases you just don't have to care, right? But the reality is there's a finesse and an approach to that in learning how to do that without coming across obnoxious.
That's right.
So Debra, Wendie, so what do you say? What are some of the things that you think this class will help women overcome?
Well, Patrice, the other aspect that I see as a challenge is the emotional part. Women are thought to be emotional. And as a crier, as one of the women who cries at commercials and can cry easily, it's just a way that I share my emotion, whether it's anger or frustration or sadness. Tears is just a part of my makeup. But that's part of the challenge that women face, is she's too emotional. And there's a lot of other things that come with that we won't bring up, but she's just too emotional. We'll give her some time, right? And she'll come around. And because we're nurturers and we want to care for others, that can be seen as a weakness. She cares too much. She's not strong enough. She's going to crumble when things get tough, right? Especially if she ever sheds a tear.
Yeah, she doesn't have the killer instincts.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, no, that's another asset. But again, I believe it's important that we embrace those qualities. Okay. And that's part of what Identity and Destiny has really been helping the women see is embrace who you are. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm a crier. Guess what? It's just going to happen. But it doesn't mean I'm less than. And it doesn't mean that I can't make the tough decisions and persevere. And I think that part of throughout the class, that's going to be part of it is how to use your emotions as a plus, how to not fall into the stereotypical trap, and also not to take it personally. You know, some of that stuff gets very personal. You know, there was a point in my life that I used to just get so hurt when people would, you know, you're just so emotional. Well, I'm emotional because I care. And after going through Identity and Destiny and discovering that one of my spiritual giftings is service, because I care. It does hurt me when you hurt. But how, as an entrepreneur, do I use that to build a successful, sustainable business? Because some of those characteristics, harnessed correctly, will build the strongest and the best team.
Wow, I love that. What I love about the point you make, Wendie, is that you're not telling them to run away from their emotions. You're saying embrace it.
Absolutely.
But then learn now to leverage it and use it to advance your agenda, your objective, and whatever, versus being a victim of it. Right? And I really love that. So you guys are doing great. This is, I mean, shucks, I want to take this class. I mean, this is good. This is like therapy, right? It's like, it's more than just learning business. It's learning psychology, and it's like in a big old counseling session where you're getting the soft and hard skills. So last question for you ladies, and I'll let you go. So by the way, if there are questions that our audience, if you guys have questions, they're posted up. We have a few more minutes left. So let's talk about opportunities that women could have from taking advantage of your class. So what are some opportunities that's unique for women? Meaning, if I take this class, you know, what are some things that will prepare me to do that in reality, it's my women advantage, you know, because it sounds like you're going to help me to be able to tap into my womanhood and be the best, not just woman, being the best person I can be in whatever I'm doing. But so what advantage do I bring to the table as a woman? Why is, because I might be looking at it and saying, you know what, Deb, Wendie, where I'm from, being a woman is a disadvantage. I don't want to be more of a woman. I want to be less of a woman. I mean, I want to wear pants and a tie and I mean, you know, I can even go further based upon your value system. But the point is that because some people have a perception that there is no advantage. I grew up seeing my mom disadvantaged, my sisters disadvantaged, my aunt disadvantaged. And so I don't have a right perception as to this woman advantage. So let's talk a bit about, so let's start with you, Wendie. So what are some advantages, or are there any, as I'm taking this one business class, that I'm in a position for that's unique to me as a woman?
So a couple of things that is unique as a woman is the minority-owned, women-owned business status that here in the U.S. and some other areas of the globe, that is a benefit. The government requires, I don't remember the exact things, about 15% of all government contracts must go to minority-owned, women-owned businesses. So as a woman entrepreneur, understanding that and building a solid business plan and a profitable business sets you up, because that's an advantage that you would have just by your gender. I went through that process myself, was certified in the city of Orlando in Orange County, and having a very strong business plan is requirement. And so that's one of the things that she will get to walk away from. But Patrice, I think we have to also remember that it's the foundation that we have to build. Okay, we have to build on the biblical principles. Whether you're a man or a woman, we have to build on that. And so making sure that the women are building that versus building off of hearsay or building off of counsel from others. That was I faced that as a challenge for me, getting counsel from unqualified people, and they thought because I was a woman it was okay that I would notice that wasn't good counsel. So again, setting her up in that area I think is important. And also, we all have to play by the same rules. And that's part of what this class is they're going to learn as well. What are the rules? Okay. What are the foundational principles that we all must follow? Because at the end of the day, we want her to impact the kingdom with her business. And whether it's dyeing cloth or building 100-story skyscrapers, we want to make sure that she is using biblical principles and impacting the marketplace. And I think that that's the biggest difference for me in this class versus a lot of other things that she can do. Because I don't want her to ever think just because it's a women in business, it's less than what the man would have to go through, or if she went to, an open class.
I love it. Deb, what are your thoughts?
Well, lots of them going through it. I'm going to echo a little bit about what Wendie has just said. Oftentimes women think, I have this little idea. I have a little idea. And really it is God-given idea about what to do and what he's asked for her to do. And that this little idea can really be something that is aligning with God, what he's asked her to do to be an impact that may be small in nature, but it can be also grow into something very large. And so am I faithful to that? Am I following what God's asked me to do? Am I caring for my family and providing for them and supporting them? And am I being that kind of a leader? Now, I know we all get caught up and we look at that Proverbs 31 woman who is absolutely amazing. I don't know if I know any woman who actually is all of those things, but that, that's that inspiration or aspiration that we have. And so if we understand that the Lord's put this idea within us and grow it, then I need to do it in the way that honors him and creating that very firm business that has opportunity to be successful, that is profitable, that it is not a drain, but it is a contributor, not only to my family, but to my community, and that I'm able to support my church. And that, again, coming back to those alignment of things, that all of these things are in alignment together, that they work together seamlessly. So how do we make this, how do we create a strong business plan that is a guideline for that woman to use to no matter where she's at, whatever her industry may be, but that she's using it and has the same principles and same practices, the same plan. Notice how I put that all together into a strong business that is supportive of her and her family and honors God in the process.
I love it. Wow, ladies, that was rich. Thank you so much. So in conclusion, people are listening from all over the world. We have Manuel who's listening to you, Oliver, Shelly who's listening to you. Here's what Ruth pointed. Ruth said, alignment, that's insightful. Never thought of the whole aspect of balance in that way before. And she thanks you, Debra. So what advice would you give the women listening or the men listening for their wives or their sister or their daughters? What advice would you give them as they're considering business for themselves, growing their businesses, facing challenges, or considering encouraging their loved ones into business, and why they should be a part of this class coming up? Who wants to start? What closing advice would you give?
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
You know, my advice, Patrice, would be that it's important to follow God's plan for our lives. And if as Debra said, giving you a little idea, if you've got an idea for business, if God has placed that passion in your heart, that purpose, then I encourage you to walk that out and to do it with a strong foundation, with the education. You know, I'm not gonna go out and build a car until I've learned how to build a car. Well, the same thing with, you know, starting a business. You need to understand that. I don't have to have an MBA, but I do need to know the foundational principles for that. So if that's what God's put on your heart, if you are in business or you feel that calling, start as you mean to go. That's another one of my favorite sayings, is start as you mean to go. And if you've already started, then use this time, this opportunity to pause and put the things in place that you need to. And for those husbands and brothers and fathers and cousins and those that know a woman who you believe God has called into business, encourage them to step out in faith. Because that's another problem that women struggle with. Oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't, you know, step out in faith and trust in God. And then become a part of a community, because that's the other thing. A lot of times the women think, oh, if I do this, I'm going to be all by myself. Nobody else is in business, or, you know, my husband and my kids can't help, whatever. Step into a community, not just of women in business, but the entire e-community. All of the biblical entrepreneurs who are just waiting to come around you and encourage and support you.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Wendie. Great advice. Wendie, thank you so much. Debra, what advice did you give them?
I don't know if I have too much to add to it, but I think that be bold, be brave, and trust in God. Step out. And for husbands, you know, or the men and women's lives, whether you're a friend, an influencer, or in another kind of relationship, this is only going to enhance, I think, your relationship, because of that that inspiration and trust that you have in the woman in your life to really fulfill who she is, and that you can be that supporter, that trust, build that trust and cooperation and work together. You know, Patrice, we have a program called Couples in Business as well. And as that Couples in Business, I know you're going to be having a life group around that.
Yes.
You know, that is really a way to walk together and be able to fulfill together what God has placed to you. So I guess my final words again are just be bold, be brave, be courageous. The Lord's with you. And that collaboration with others, the community that Nehemiah Project offers, helps to share and to build around the world. And you're going to have friends and supporters, a network of people that love God and love the work that we're doing to build his kingdom.
Wow. Be bold, be brave, and be courageous. Those are Debra's words. Debra, thank you so much. Ladies, you've been awesome. How do people get involved with this class? Where do they go, Wendie?
So they need to go to the e-community, Nehemiah e-community, to the product store under biblical BE certificate and women in business. It starts on June 16th. And they have the opportunity to take advantage of the Recovery 2020 discount. And so they can actually take this class for 50% off, which is amazing. If they're already a member of the e-community, they can also use their e-community discount coupled with the 50% off discount. So it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that.
And you and I did a need assessment with a couple who the husband decided to use part of their stimulus money,
yes,
to invest in the class. I thought that was powerful.
For both of them. It wasn't just him either. He wanted both of them to go through
Yeah.
And it was starting just him, but because of that, he was going to let them both go.
Wow. I mean, that's the main side. I don't want just to consume the money. I want to invest the money.
Right.
Awesome. Well, Debra, Wendie, thank you for all you both are doing, both for the Nehemiah Project as well as for women in business all over the world. May this ministry truly exceed your own expectation. Thank you so much, ladies. You're doing good work.
Thank you.
Wow.
Bye.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I've surely been blessed. I've been encouraged, and it's been insightful to hear from a woman's angle some of these things. It makes me a better husband, a better father, a better associate as I try to engage with women. Hopefully you've gotten the same thing. So if you like to be a part of what we're doing and join this community, whether you're a woman or a man, a community of entrepreneurs around the world that are committed to transforming the world together, you want to receive coaching, training, access to capital, as a part of this community, we want you to visit our website. If you love what you heard and you want to be a part, visit our website at nehemiahecommunity.com, nehemiahecommunity.com. And there you can find all kinds of information about us, about the e-community, and about all the things that the ladies talked about. And from there, you can even sign up for the Women in Business class. Having said that, let me leave you with these words. May the Lord bless you. And may the Lord enable you to steward those gifts, skills, and talents that are before you in such a way that one day you can hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. He'll now make you rule over much. God bless you.